All right, here we go. Professor LaTanya White here again with you. I am an author, entrepreneur, and educator. I am the founder of Pivot University, which is a program of LaTanya White Biz, but it's a 12-week intensive coaching program that is literally based on the same model that I use to teach and coach entrepreneurship students on university campuses. So Pivot, the workbook, is based on the Becoming Fearless business model, business development approach that I kind of stumbled upon over the last 7 years of interacting and coaching with over 300 students and clients, private clients and clients from the Small Business Development Center. And one of the things that I've found, and I'll actually be studying this for my PhD research, is that there are so many assumptions that we have as business owners, either whether or not you're a startup business owner or you're established. But one of the things that Pivot does is it coaches you through articulating those assumptions, because we assume that we know what our customers want to buy from us, and we assume at what rate they want to purchase our products and services. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of things. Just to give you that kind of background, Becoming Fearless is an acronym where the F is for foundations. We'll be building your foundation, making sure that you're targeting the right customers, evaluating your marketing messages to those customers, analyzing your position in the market, because there's nothing new under the sun, and certainly not you. And you have to know what other options people are considering. Retraining and making sure that you understand your worth and your value, making sure that you understand that your expertise is already valuable. No matter where you are, you're already an expert at something. And how do we leverage that expertise? So FEARL, leverage efficient systems, so LES, to create a sustainable business model. So that's what Fearless stands for. What we're going to be doing now, what we're going to get into now, is the foundation module. And that's where we're really talking about, who are you? How do you want people to know you, to remember you, and to recognize you as a business owner? Who is your customer? How do you relate to that customer? How much about your prospective customer do you understand? And also, are you doing the right thing? Not so much from a moral standpoint, but are you doing the thing that people want to pay for? So that's the foundation. And interestingly enough, the first assumption that we're going to talk about in the foundation module is assumption 1.2. And that assumption is, your assumption is you think your idea is the right solution. And it's not always the case. I'll use 71 Proof, for example, which is my bartending business. We provide bartender training, and we work closely with do-it-yourself brides, meeting venues, meeting planners in the corporate setting. And when I first started the business 10 years ago, we will bartend literally for anybody, anywhere, at the drop of a hat at any time. And I thought that idea was the right solution. And it worked for a while. It was, we were burning both ends of the candle at the same time. So I got to the point where I just got totally burnt out, because I was having to do so much to service my clients, when I realized that there was a totally untapped market. Not even to this day do many of the bartending companies that are here locally operate in the market that I operate in, now that I've reassessed my assumption about what my idea is. And I'm not going to give my secret away, because then everybody will know what that market is. But getting on to assumption 1.2, this actually was inspired by Simon Sinek. So earlier I've said that my job and a lot of what I've done is taken all of the knowledge, all of the expertise that I have, and I've condensed it into, how many pages is this? Into 170 pages in the Pivot workbook. So over the course of 10 years as an entrepreneur, 4 years as a sales professional, time and customer relationship management, strategic pricing, coaching, education, higher education, assessments. So I've taken all of that information and I've distilled it for you so that you can get to where you want to be as an entrepreneur in the quickest way possible. Like, my guarantee to you is that you will experience a speed to success on this journey to creating your entrepreneurial legacy. So you're going to have to hold me to it, and I trust that you will. But assumption 1.2, and that assumption is that your idea is the right solution. So Simon Sinek, not Simon Says, but Simon Sinek, he's an author and a TED speaker, and he introduced this concept called the golden circle. And it really looks at these three concentric circles, and I'll make sure that you have access to a link to his TED Talk so that you can get the idea, the framework of what I'm referring to. But so there are these three concentric circles. You have a big circle, another circle inside of that one, and then a smaller circle inside of that. That's what I mean by concentric. And on the outside, we have the what. So what do you do? What does your business do? I'm an entrepreneurship educator. That middle circle is how. How do you do it? I'm an entrepreneurship educator. I offer coaching and mentoring services to startup and small businesses. Okay, most every business can tell you that, but that's not moving, right? That's not enough to make someone want to be my customer or be my client. And I don't want you to continue to assume that your what and your how are all the things that you need to convince someone to be your customer. What Sinek says is missing from that conversation is your why. People connect with you based on your values and based on your why. So that middle circle, that inner circle, is what is your why? Why do you do it? I'm an entrepreneurship educator. I help coach and mentor entrepreneurs, startup and small business entrepreneurs, because I want to see more people, especially minority entrepreneurs, succeed. Period. That last part, that reason why I do it, is more moving to many more people than the fact that I've been featured in Essence magazine, or that I've written 2 books, or that I'm one of Tallahassee's 25 women you need to. None of that matters. Teddy Roosevelt, who's a former U.S. president, is quoted as having said, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care." So make sure that as you're delivering your marketing messages, as you're networking, as you're building this brand and this reputation, that people know why you're doing this. And hopefully your motivation is deeper than money, right? Because this doesn't even work if your only motivation is money. But hopefully, as you start to build that kind of reputation for yourself, that's what draws more people to you, your why, and that they can resonate with that. But in order for you to find out if your why is the right idea for you to pursue as a business, because some business ideas are noble. They're noble ideas, but are they going to be sustainable, right? And so that's the difference. And that's where this next exercise comes in, and that's the pain project. So Pat Flynn, I've mentioned him before. He has a blog called Smart Passive Income. He's an engineer by trade, but he found a way to leverage what he knew. He actually passed like the green building certification exam, I think on the very first try, and apparently that's really hard to do. So when he got so many people asking him how did he do it, he wrote an ebook on it, and that started him on the journey to passive income and leverage. So on his blog, he had an interview with a software developer and an entrepreneur named Dane Maxwell. Dane now is the owner of 3 multi-million-dollar software development companies, but he's not a software developer. And so Pat asked him, well, how did that happen? How do other people do something like that? And literally, Dane said he was talking to his uncle who's in real estate, and his uncle was like griping and complaining. He was so frustrated by something one day, and Dane asked him, he recognized that there was a pain point there. And Dane asked his uncle, well, what would solve that for you? His uncle told him the exact solution, the exact thing that he needed to solve his pain or to address his frustration, Dane went out and found the people to build it or to create it, because again, it's software. And that's how his first business got started. So what we're going to be doing with the pain project for you is making sure that you have the same feedback and that your prospective customers are telling you that without a shadow of a doubt what it is that your prospective customers want someone to build and create, and we want that person to be you. So what we do is we make sure that we understand first who we want our customers to be. We'll work a little more in depth on who that person is, like who that ideal customer is, the one that you want 100 of. But for right now, just have a general idea of the types of customers that you will service, because this really only works if you're talking to people who are likely to become paying customers. Now, if you do have an idea for your business, that's where you want to be more specific. So if you are interested in starting a commercial cleaning business, then your prospective customers are going to be the people at these buildings. So maybe it's the bank manager, or maybe it's the facilities manager at an office building or an office building complex. That's who's going to cut you the check, right? Or that's who's going to take it to the next level and say, hey, we need to cut a check for this person. So depending on what your business idea is, that's the type of people that you want to have in mind to complete this particular exercise. And it's a two-part exercise. It's the simplest two questions you can ever ask. So the first question that you would ask, if you know what type of business, or if you have an idea of type of business that you want to start, you ask them, what pain or frustration do you experience with XYZ, whatever that industry is, on a regular basis? So in my case, let's take for 71 Proof, which is my bartending business. If I know that I want to target more professional meeting planners, my question to them might be, what pain or frustration do you experience when planning the bar aspect of your meetings on a regular basis? So I had to put it in context for them, because if I ask them, what pain or frustration do you experience on a regular basis, that could be anything. That could be the fact that Tallahassee traffic is what it is. Or that could be the fact that if I'm in business for myself and I have a location during the summer, then the students aren't here, I have no business. So you want it to be in the context of where your business idea is. So you got it. The first question is, what pain or frustration do you experience on a pretty regular basis concerning XYZ? Or what pain or frustration do you experience with XYZ on a regular basis? That's your first question. That's it. Make it simple. Now the follow-up question, and this is where Dane's practice comes into play, because his uncle, remember, was griping and complaining to him about something he was frustrated by. Dane asked him, well, what do you think will solve that for you? And that's the same question that I want you to ask, because when you get their response, I want you to think about how closely does their response align with the idea that you have. If it's a little bit off, that means, all right, that's what we're here for, to pivot, because people are only going to pay for the solutions they feel that they need. So your idea, if it is off the mark a little bit, we can come back to it. We can incorporate it into the business down the line. But if it's not going to make money, if it's not going to bring in revenue or generate income, then we can put it on a back burner for just a little while. Okay? So now that's if you do have an idea for a business. If you don't have an idea for the type of business that you want to start, you just know you want to be in business for yourself, there's a slight modification to this interview, this pain project interview that you want to do. And that is where you'll just be asking a general question. What is one task or activity that you complete on a regular basis that frustrates you? So that's where those broad generic answers are going to come into play. But your task from there is for you to decide which solution you want to pursue, because you do still have to ask that follow-up question. What do you think will solve that problem? So people are telling you what they're willing to pay for to solve their pain or frustration. It's your job as the aspiring entrepreneur or the business owner, the business developer to create the business around that solution. All right. So that's the pain project. Again, there are some links to that interview with Dane Maxwell. You can go to smartpassiveincome.com, and the link is at the bottom of the Pivot workbook as well. So Smart Passive Income, to get an understanding of how Dane Maxwell built his business strictly from identifying the solutions that people were wanting to pay for. Remember, he didn't even come up with the solution. He asked people what solution they wanted. Your job is to build the business around the solution. So those are two different things. And then the golden circle is that Simon Sinek. So that's where we're looking at what's your what, your how, and most importantly, your why. Now, a couple more steps as you are kind of recapping or summarizing this activity. What you're going to be creating a video, so you need to get comfortable being on camera. And what you'll need to include in your video is, of course, your introduction. Who are you? What's your golden circle? So what's your what, how, and why? What is the pain that you're committing to solving? So this really looks at, out of all the responses that you get, and you only, at a minimum, just need to interview 5 people. Remember, it's a 2-question interview. You only need to interview 5 people, but out of that 5, which one of those responses resonates most with you, and which one are you going to commit yourself to solving and to building a business around? Who typically experiences this pain? Is it college students? Is it working moms? Is it single moms? Is it single dads? Is it accountants? Or is it meeting planners? Who typically experiences this pain, and what products or services are you going to be developing to address that pain or frustration? What are 3 ways that this problem can be solved? So is it service-based? Is it product-based? Is it a physical space? For promotional promoters, like event promoters, these are people that want to get people together all the time. One of the problems that they have is finding the venue or finding the space to have their parties. So that's where that physical space aspect, that's the one way that the problem can be solved for them. Minimum of 3 revenue streams that will be created. So the 3 ways that this problem can be solved and the 3 revenue streams, they're related, but if you don't tell me how you're going to monetize, then it doesn't matter. None of this even matters if you aren't going to monetize these ideas. And then finally, make sure you know who you're already up against. Name at least specifically by name 3 companies that are already in business that are doing something similar, providing a similar solution. Because what's important to remember is, again, there's nothing new under the sun, right? But what we're going to be working together on is how do you innovate in providing a solution to the problem. But for right now, people are getting their problem solved in some way, but they still face a slight frustration. So I want to make sure that you know who those companies are that they're already going to, that they already trust to get some sort of solution in the meantime. So that is the assumption about your idea being the right solution. And I look forward to your feedback. I look forward to what you learn from interacting with the people that you'll be eventually serving. So until next time.